Welcome to the Watchful Citizen, a program sponsored by the Lancaster County Democratic Party. My name is Terry Werner, and our guest today is the Democratic candidate for governor in the state of Nebraska, Mr. Mike Meister. Welcome.
Thank you.
You know, you come from Scottsbluff in western Nebraska. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I practice law in Scottsbluff, which is good 400 miles west of here. I've got
God's territory.
Yeah, there you go. I got 3 kids. I've been out there since '92 when I got out of the Army, and I've been practicing law. And other than a run for AG in 2002, I haven't been all that politically active. So this has been kind of a fun experience.
Well, and we're glad that you stepped up. You know, Mike, one of the things that I always get concerned about when I see people stepping up to run for office and so on, sometimes it feels like it's an ego trip or something. And it seems to me that if you're going to run for office, you should have a vision for the state. What is your vision for Nebraska?
Well, what I see with Nebraska is, and I think this is very important to remember, is I come from a rural background. I'd like to see Nebraska return to prominence in the agricultural sector like we once were. It's the backbone of the state. It's what the state is based upon. At the same time, though, now we have some very large urban centers, Lincoln and Omaha, and we need to be focusing on how to make sure that the urban centers are taken care of in Nebraska. At the same time, we're growing the rural parts of the state. So one of the things also that I'm looking at is small business and increasing small business so that it grows. It's the economic juggernaut of urban centers. And so what we need to do is have a balanced approach to the state. You know, the other things I see is infrastructure of roads. Several projects have been delayed for several years, and that hurts the rural parts of the state. It hurts the economic development of the rural parts of the state. And frankly, the South Belt line in Lincoln, it hurts the economic development of Lincoln. And so these are things that we need to work on. Some other visions that I see in Nebraska that is energy independent. We're developing renewable and sustainable energy resources such as wind power, which not only brings the energy component of it, but also brings jobs. There's construction jobs in building the wind farms. There's maintenance jobs in maintaining those wind farms. What I would like to see is that we start to export our income tax burden similar to the way the state of Wyoming does with their coal or the state of Texas does with its oil. And we should be able to do that. Nebraska sits in a unique position energy-wise in that we are right in between the east power grid and the west power grid, particularly out in my part of the country. Mm-hmm. And so if we could develop the switchboard, be the operator for energy for the United States, I think that would be a tremendous asset not only to the state but to the United States as well.
One of my I'm director of the social workers, and so a concern of ours is children and families. What do you see for children and families?
Well, what I see currently is not good. What I see in the future, I think, will be much better. Currently, the administration has developed a very administrative downward approach to child protective services, foster care services, and those types of things that help families in crisis. That's not the right way to do it. In my mind, you have more social workers at the bottom helping those families in crisis, providing them the resources that they need so that the kids are well served, the kids are taken care of, the families are made stronger. You know, a lot of it, Terry, is just trying to educate parents on how to be good parents. In my years as a prosecutor, you know, I saw a lot of child abuse cases, a lot of domestic abuse cases, and those are absolutely terrible when you're in the midst of them. But people can change, and if given the right resources, people will change.
Hey, there are so many things that have come to my mind in the last 2 minutes.
Okay.
But let's go back to the budget thing and your vision, and which brings us to the budget. You know, we talk about the roads and we talk about energy efficiency and the a green state and so on, and I couldn't agree more with those things. But I think your opponents would say, yeah, but we have a $750 million budget deficit. Last year, if you had any bill with a fiscal note to it, it was dead in the water before it even got anywhere. How do you pay for those things? How? I guess let me go back and say, what do you think Nebraskans' priorities for the budget would be, and how do you go about balancing the budget, which you're required to do?
Well, I think that Nebraskans, by and large, want government to focus on those functions that are essential government functions, such as child protective services HHS, Health and Human Services. Those things are something that government does far better than the private sector, as Dave Heineman has proven over the last 6 years. You know, we look at this call center idea that has just absolutely failed. We look at this, I was talking to somebody in Omaha, they told me they've gone from 254 child protective service workers to 100, yet Omaha's still growing. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
You know, so when you look at that in terms of the budget, you know, you have to prioritize those things, but at the same time, you have to look at those things that Nebraskans are willing to sacrifice for initially for the long term. And this governor's been too short-sighted on everything. I mean, he doesn't see any future, I don't think, in Nebraska. He just wants things to kind of plod along and remain the same. I think that by building the roads that need to be built, as an example, we strengthen the economic areas of the rural parts of the state, which increases revenue. And that's not a tax increase.
Right.
That's increasing business so that there is another revenue stream coming into the equation. I think the way you balance the budget is you go through and you look at those priorities. And I think children are our #1 priority. I think our #2 priority should be infrastructure for economic development. I think then what you do is you take those things and you develop a system that focuses on those. I've told many people that the first day in office, my job is to tell every single agency there are no sacred cows in government. Justify your existence to me. Tell me how many Nebraskans you impact. Tell me what's your economic impact on Nebraska. Tell me how many people that you actually touch, you're taking care of. And do you regulate just to regulate, or are you actually accomplishing a mission? And I think once we have the answers to those 4 questions, we can then go back and prioritize for those agencies that we have to have, Health and Human Services as an example. Those agencies would be nice to have if you can afford them. And then those agencies have been around since, I don't know, 1926 or so, that because somebody had a great idea 80 years ago,
Right.
yeah, it's not there anymore. And we need to fix that focus and get rid of those agencies that no longer serve a purpose.